I'm Vinnie Politan. Thanks so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments. And we begin this hour with our unsolved case file. And tonight we're taking a look at a story from Florida. A 23-year-old transgender woman found dead in a torched car 30 miles from her home. And the question is, who is responsible? What happened? This is a case from 2019. The family and friends, especially the victim's mother, looking for an answer, looking for justice for Bee Love Slater.
A human, a very kind-hearted human, like all of us should be anyway. And it shouldn't have happened, not that way. Not that way.
That's how the family of Bowman Slater described her in a press conference. Slater, also known as Bee Love, was a transgender woman murdered here in Hendry County.
What happened over there?
It's a question many neighbors like Paul Cherubin were asking themselves after the Hendry County Sheriff's Office raided a home here at the corner of W.C. Owen and Alvarez in Clewiston.
I don't know what he did. He had in the hand and then he did door or something like that. Bang, the door wide open.
Cherubin says a woman lives here with her 2 adult daughters, grandkids, and boyfriend, and he was shocked to see deputies there.
We've received information through various means which led us.
We asked the Hendry County Sheriff, and he says they were there looking for clues that might help solve
the murder.
He's talking about this gruesome scene from September 4th. Inside that burned out car, deputies found the body of a transgender woman. She went by the name Bee Love Slater. Deputies found Slater burned beyond recognition in her car in the area of 1218 Virginia Avenue in Clewiston. But Slater is from Belle Glade, Pahokee in Palm Beach County. Investigators are still working to find out how she wound up in Clewiston.
To date, detectives have interviewed several hundred people, written and executed over 40 search warrants. Today, this homicide investigation is still very much active and continues to be investigated.
Sheriff Whitten says Hendry County continues to work closely with the FBI to solve this case. But FBI agent Davis Christie says this case is now being looked at as a possible hate crime.
Hate crimes are the highest priority of the FBI's civil rights program, and we're working in partnership with Hendry County in order to solve this case. The murder of Bee Love Slater 1 year ago demands our investigative rigor and commitment, and we're here to provide that commitment to the community of Hendry County and to the family.
Lametris Jackson, Slater's best friend, spoke on behalf of the family today. Jackson tells us this past year has been unlike any other.
It has been traumatic, especially for her. You know, he wasn't, or she wasn't just her son or her daughter. They were best friends. You know, Bee Love was best friends with everybody because everybody loved her. So it's been traumatic.
Jackson says Slater's mother and loved ones all want the same thing: answers.
Just the truth and some justice is all we're asking for. We're not asking for an improper arrest, but something, anything at this point will do. I got her up until that time happens.
Who killed Bee Love? If you have any information, you saw the heartache on the eyes of Bee Love's mom. If you have any information, please call the Hendry County Sheriff's Office Major Crimes Unit, 863-674-5700, 863-674-5600. And we are doing this every night at 9 o'clock on this program, taking a look at stories like this from around the country. And we're doing it for a reason, to make sure that no one forgets and that there's a chance that these families can get some sense of justice after unthinkable tragedies in their lives. And for Bee Love's mom, I mean, you didn't even have to see her face. You just had to see her eyes to understand what this has done to her. And she has no answers. Let's take a closer look now at some of this evidence. We have a special guest joining us tonight, coordinator, lecturer, and master of science in forensic technology at New Haven University and a former lieutenant of the New Haven Police Department. Lisa Daddio joins us. Lisa, great to have you here. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Vinnie, for having me here. It's quite an honor.
Let's start at the scene. We saw that photo of that vehicle that was torched. Investigators show up to a scene like that. Where do you begin? What can you find?
So obviously the picture that we saw, it's the close-up area of the burnt out vehicle. From a crime scene perspective, you want to go out as far as possible and really extend that. And I'm sure that was done because you don't know what evidence may have been discarded or extended past where that initial car was found. So the car right now is the main focus of the crime scene. Who's in the car? What type of person or people are inside? I understand that Bee Love obviously was in the vehicle at the time that it was discovered, which is just horrific. And, you know, at that time, you're trying to identify who it is. Yes, you can get the vehicle identification number off the car, but you don't know the who. And just because it may come back to Bee Love or somebody else, it doesn't mean that's who's in the car. So investigatively, you have a lot of different things going on, both at the scene and also from the investigation side of it with the investigators.
How badly does fire, an intense fire like this, impact and destroy potential forensic evidence?
It actually pretty much destroys everything. The only evidence you have at this point is the body in this particular case that was left in the car. Anything else that's in there is going to be completely destroyed due to the heat from the flames. And then obviously they had to extinguish the fire as well. So everything forensically is gone, but the body itself.
So when you are now confronted with a situation like this, where you've got a victim in a scene lacking in forensic evidence, what's the approach? What's the next step?
Obviously, you want to identify who the victim is, and then from there, you're going to start a timeline. You know, you know when the call came in regarding the car that was on fire, and then you start backtracking along the way as to the victim's movements in this case, in Bee Love's movements. You know, where was she 24 hours leading up to this event? You're going to look at cell records, if they're there, social media posts as well, and literally reaching out to everyone and anyone who may have seen her 24 hours leading up to when she was discovered in the burnt out vehicle. You're going to look at electronic and digital evidence, you know, seeing if there was any credit card, debit card usage, any video surveillance of Bee Love speaking to anybody, going into a particular store or a location. You're looking at traffic cams. You're really looking at everything, that 24 hours leading up to when Bee Love was discovered.
Where she's discovered is 30 miles from her home. What's the
So why is she there?
Yeah, what's the significance there, and what questions are you trying to answer?
What brought her there? You know, again, that's where traffic cams, if they're available, or now, you know, we're starting to see a huge increase in Ring cameras, trying to track the car on video surveillance going up to that point and reaching out to neighbors, you know, businesses, schools, anywhere to see if there's any video footage that shows the car moving to that location. And the big question for investigators, and I'm sure, you know, they are trying to determine this, is what brought her 30 miles away from home to this particular location? And how did she get there? She didn't set herself on fire. So how did she get there, and who else was in the vehicle at the time that this horrific crime had occurred?
Now, the sheriff said on Friday that the detectives have established a list of persons of interest. Okay? You've got that list. How do you go through it? How do you prioritize it? And how do you eliminate people from that list?
So it all comes down to their movements as well. And you start kind of prioritizing and triaging, if you would, your suspects or your list of potential persons of interest. And, you know, we always want to look at who was the last person to see, in this case, Bee Love alive, and then backtracking it from there. Are there alibis, or, you know, what they're stating to law enforcement officials, in fact, can it be verified? from either other people, again, digital evidence, video surveillance, text messages, cell phone records, to back up what they're saying to investigators. We all know in a case like this, people know exactly what happened. It's just getting them to come forward and talk to law enforcement.
We posted this on social media so folks can share it and we can get the word out. But we've also got some comments, questions posted by some viewers. Let's begin with Beth, who says, is that the boyfriend of whoever lives there picked up a woman, got intimate with her, and found out she was transgender? Some people can't handle that. It's sad but true, so could be a hate crime. And that's something, they put a lot of resources towards this, and there's a lot of talk that they're investigating it as a hate crime. How does that change things at all?
So, investigatively, it doesn't change anything. What helps, the sheriffs in this county, obviously, is the FBI is involved. So now you have federal resources, federal technology, federal personnel to help local law enforcement do this. Obviously, they're surmising it is a hate crime based upon Bee Love's gender and the fact that she was in fact transgendered. And so that elevates the crime and the severity of the murder as well. It's tough. I think prior to, right around the time that Bee Love was killed, there were 18 other transgendered people murdered or killed throughout the United States at that time, I think in 2019. So this is not something that unfortunately is rare, but in fact, we're seeing more and more throughout the country.
Teresa writes, sad when someone loses their right to be who they want to be, if in fact this is a hate crime. But as of yet, not much information on this case. Sounds like they need to check out Lover's family members. I think they had something to do with it because they did not like them with her. How much of the investigation, how deep into someone's life do you have to go and to the lives of those who are close to the victim?
You have to go extremely deep. And then you have to understand, I think one of the things that's really difficult for people to understand is we can't force somebody to talk to us, and we can't force somebody to give us all the information that they have. If they don't want to cooperate, there's nothing we can do about it. And that's everybody's right to do. So, when you're faced with a case like this where, allegedly family members weren't happy because of Bee Love's choice as to how she wanted to live, that's being unhappy is one thing. Killing somebody, setting them on fire is something completely different. So, it's hard to know the why at this point. And as investigators, we always try to find the why when a crime like this that's just so horrific happens. You want to know why somebody did it, and sometimes we never know the why.
And our final comment tonight from Azelle. In most cases, it's someone they know that kills the victim. I would backtrack the cell phone records and look around the area for DNA around the car. Let's finish back at the scene now. Are you going to be able to get anything from the surrounding area, do you think?
Possibly. It's really hard to say because you have to look to see if anything was discarded along the way. Whoever was here left somehow, whether it was on foot, they got picked up. You have to look into what some of the people have suggested, cell phone records. Yeah, you have to look at all that as well. It's possible something was discarded along the way. So, you see a lot of brush there, you see high grass and definitely a lot of green. So you have to comb through that, which I'm sure they did, looking for anything, because you don't know what's relevant and what isn't relevant at this stage. So if there's something that seems out of place, you got to take it. A coffee cup, a soda bottle, a cigarette, anything at this stage when it occurred, because you just never know if it's going to be connected back to the person or people responsible for this horrific crime.
All right, once again, I'd ask folks to go on my Facebook page and share the story so we can get the word out and continue to keep the search for Bee Love's killer alive. Lisa Daddio, great to have your insight and your expertise. Please come back soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
All right, folks, when we come back, we've got big news in the George Floyd murder trial. The countdown continues, and now we've got a look at the witness list for prosecutors, and you won't believe who's on it.